The observation deck of the UNS Prometheus fell silent as the massive alien vessels appeared near Jupiter. Commander Park Ji-ho stood tall, his experienced eyes studying the elegant ships that materialized seemingly from nowhere. These were the vessels of what Earth would soon learn was the Galactic Council, arriving during what appeared to be a border conflict between two unknown alien species. "What are we looking at?" asked Captain Yoon Do-hyun, stepping beside Ji-ho. "First contact," Ji-ho replied, his voice steady despite the gravity of the moment. "And it seems we're witnessing them in the middle of their own problems." The alien ships moved with precision, their hulls gleaming under Jupiter's distant light. Two distinct fleets faced each other, weapons charged. Energy discharges flashed between them, beautiful but deadly. Lieutenant Kim Hannah rushed to the command console, her fingers flying over the holographic displays. "Sir, we're picking up transmission patterns. They're communicating, but also firing on each other." "Can we interpret any of it?" asked Ji-ho. "Working on it," Hannah replied. "Our AI is detecting patterns. These aren't random exchanges. This is a structured conflict." Ji-ho watched more carefully. Indeed, there seemed to be rules to this engagement. The aliens fired in sequences, almost ceremonial in nature. One side would advance, retreat, then the other would respond in kind. "It's like watching a deadly dance," observed Do-hyun. 3 hours passed as the human crew observed, collected data, and began to understand. The two alien species, later identified as the MEV and the Toral, were fighting over mining rights to one of Jupiter's moons. Their conflict followed strict protocols established by the Galactic Council, whose representatives monitored from their command ship. "They're going to destroy each other," Hannah said, reviewing the tactical displays. "Neither side will back down. Their combat algorithms are locked in a cycle." Ji-ho studied the patterns with growing understanding. "No. There's a solution here." He turned to Communications Officer Bae Min-ho. "Can we broadcast on their frequencies?" "Sir?" Min-ho looked concerned. "Protocol says we should remain hidden during first contact scenarios." "Those protocols assumed we'd encounter one alien species, not three locked in battle in our own solar system," Ji-ho countered. "If we do nothing, we'll have a war on our doorstep." With reluctant approval from Earth Command, Ji-ho implemented his plan. The humans transmitted carefully crafted interference patterns that disrupted the ceremonial combat sequences of both alien factions. Not enough to disable their ships, but enough to break their predetermined battle algorithms. When the aliens paused in confusion, the Prometheus sent mathematical sequences, universal language, followed by simple trading proposals that would benefit both sides more than the disputed moon. The Council ship responded first, its communication arrays turning toward Earth. An elegant, multi-toned message reached the Prometheus, quickly decoded by the ship's AI. "They're surprised," said Min-ho, reading the translation. "They didn't know an intelligent species existed here." The next 12 hours became the most important diplomatic meeting in human history. The Council representatives, led by an entity called High Emissary Toral, expressed astonishment that humans had resolved a conflict their finest mediators had deemed hopeless. "Your solution was unexpected," Toral told Ji-ho via holographic communication. "You disrupted formal combat protocols, yet achieved peace through economic incentives neither side had considered." "Sometimes an outsider sees what those involved in the conflict cannot," Ji-ho replied simply. The Council's inner discussion was brief but intense. Their decision, when it came, changed humanity's future forever. "The Council extends an invitation to Earth as junior members," announced Toral. "Your species has existed in isolation, yet you resolved the conflict using methods our civilization never considered. We find this both promising and concerning." As the alien ships prepared to depart, Ji-ho received one final message from Toral: "We will return in one Earth year to formalize your membership. Until then, Commander Park Ji-ho, you are hereby appointed temporary representative of humanity to the Galactic Council." Ji-ho watched the alien vessels dissolve into streams of light, vanishing as quickly as they had appeared. The weight of responsibility settled on his shoulders. Humanity had just joined a galactic community it knew nothing about, with rules it didn't understand. "What happens now?" asked Hannah, standing at his side. Now, said Jiho, we prepare. The galaxy has rules for everything, including warfare. But today we showed them that sometimes, breaking the rules is the only way to find peace. 3 years had passed since Earth joined the Galactic Council. Humans learned quickly about the vast community of stars, trading with alien species and sharing knowledge. But peace did not last. A violent species called the Quar began attacking Council worlds one by one. Admiral Lee Sunwoo stood in the observation room of the Council's military headquarters on Proxima Centauri, Earth's nearest Council outpost. Holographic displays showed the latest defeat: a Council defense fleet destroyed while maintaining their perfect formation against the chaotic Quar attacks. This is madness, Sunwoo muttered, his experienced eyes seeing what the Council commanders missed. They're fighting by the book against an enemy who hasn't read it. The Council military representatives sat around a large table, their varied alien forms all showing signs of worry. Grand Marshal Valine, a tall blueskin being with 4 arms, pointed at the battle replay. The Quar violated Combat Protocol 27B by attacking our medical ships first, Valine said. When we sent the formal protest, they responded with even more aggression. Sunwoo couldn't contain himself any longer. He slammed his fist on the table. Unacceptable. 3 colony worlds lost while your fleets maintain perfect formation against an enemy that doesn't respect your rules. The Council representatives shifted uncomfortably. Several looked offended by the humans' outburst. Admiral Lee, said Valine calmly, our warfare protocols have maintained peace for 12,000 cycles. We cannot abandon civility merely because the Quar do not share it. Civility? Sunwoo's voice rose. There's nothing civil about letting your people die for outdated tactics. Perhaps humans do not understand, said another Council commander, his insect-like mandibles clicking. War must have rules, or we become no better than animals. Sunwoo pointed to the display showing the burning remains of a Council colony. Tell that to the families of the dead. The meeting ended without resolution. Walking back to the Earth Embassy, Sunwoo met with Dr. Kong Taemin, Earth's leading expert on alien psychology. They won't listen, Sunwoo explained. They'd rather lose with honor than win using our tactics. Taemin nodded thoughtfully. The Council species have fought ritualized wars for thousands of years. Breaking those traditions is unthinkable to them. Meanwhile, the Quar grow stronger with each victory. 2 weeks later, news arrived that the Proxima Sanctum, a major Council outpost, had fallen to the Quar. Over 10,000 lives lost, 3 Council species now facing extinction. The emergency meeting that followed was somber. Grand Marshal Valine's proud posture had diminished. The Council formally requests Earth's military assistance against the Quar threat. Sunwoo stood. You rejected our help before. What changed? Necessity, Valine admitted quietly. Our traditional methods have failed. The Quar now threaten core Council worlds. And you'll allow us to use our own tactics? Sunwoo pressed. After a long pause, Valine nodded. Within reasonable limits. We still maintain certain ethical boundaries. War isn't ethical, Sunwoo replied. But we'll do what we can. Within days, Sunwoo assembled a specialized task force. He chose Commander Choi Na-young to lead the field operations. Her tactical genius was unmatched in Earth's fleet. For understanding the enemy, he selected Dr. Kong Taemin, whose work in alien psychology would be crucial. The first briefing took place aboard the Earth vessel Dauntless. Sunwoo addressed the mixed crew of humans and Council species. The Quar believe themselves unbeatable because they ignore the rules, he explained. Our advantage is that we never relied on those rules in the first place. A Council officer raised a tentacle. But without protocols, how do you maintain order in battle? Na-young stepped forward. We adapt. We change. We study the enemy and become what they fear most. Taemin displayed the first psychological profile of the Quar. They're hierarchical predators with a rigid command structure. They expect enemies to behave the same way. When faced with unpredictable tactics, they become confused.
Sun Wu outlined the first mission. We won't engage their main fleet.
Instead, we'll target their supply lines, communication hubs, and leadership. Assassination, asked a council officer, clearly disturbed.
That violates the most sacred combat protocols.
We call it decapitation strikes, Na Young corrected.
And yes, that's exactly what we'll do.
As the meeting ended, Taemin approached Sun Wu privately. The council species are deeply uncomfortable with our methods. They'll be more uncomfortable if the Quar destroy their worlds, Sun Wu replied.
Sometimes survival requires breaking the rules. The Earth Task Force prepared to depart, loading specialized equipment never before seen in council warfare. Sun Wu watched from the command deck, knowing that humanity was about to change galactic warfare forever. For better or worse, the human fleet moved silently through the debris field of a destroyed moon. Commander Choi Na-young stood on the bridge of the Earthship Valiant, her eyes fixed on the tactical display showing 50 Quar warships moving in formation toward the council colony of New Dawn. They expect us to face them head-on, Na-young said to her crew. That's what the council always does. But we're not the council. Officer Kim Tae-sung looked concerned. Commander, we only have 3 ships.
Their fleet outnumbers us more than 15 to 1.
Na-young smiled slightly.
What they're calling honor is actually their greatest weakness. They fight wars like they're playing chess, but we're about to introduce them to poker.
The human task force had spent weeks studying Quar battle patterns.
Unlike the council species who announced their attacks and engaged in formal combat, the Quar were aggressive and direct, but still predictable in their own way.
Begin Operation Ghostlight, Na-young ordered.
The 3 Earthships launched thousands of small drones, each no bigger than a human hand. The drones spread throughout the system, some attaching to floating debris, others forming invisible nets in space. Each carried a small but powerful electromagnetic pulse generator. Drone network established, reported Officer Park Min-ji from the technical station.
Ready on your command. Na-young watched as the Quar fleet approached Jupiter's orbit. Let's make them think they've found us. Activate Decoy Pattern 3.
A small group of drones created holographic projections of Earthships, complete with false heat signatures and communication chatter. The Quar fleet immediately changed course, moving to engage what they thought was the main human force.
They've taken the bait, said Tae-sung. Na-young nodded. Now for the real surprise. Begin atmospheric manipulation.
This was the most innovative part of her plan.
Human scientists had discovered ways to trigger electromagnetic disturbances in gas giant atmospheres.
As the Quar fleet passed near Jupiter, following the decoy signals, human ships fired specialized catalysts into specific layers of Jupiter's clouds.
Energy buildup detected in Jupiter's upper atmosphere, reported Min-ji.
The Quar ships moved closer, their sensors focused on the decoys rather than the atmospheric changes happening beneath them.
Na-young waited until the enemy fleet reached the exact position she had calculated. Now, she ordered quietly.
The catalysts activated, causing a massive electromagnetic pulse to erupt from Jupiter's atmosphere. The pulse hit the Quar ships at precisely the moment when their rotating shield systems cycled to their weakest point, information gained through careful observation of previous battles. Ship after ship lost power, their systems overloaded. Before they could recover, the real Earth vessels emerged from hiding, targeting the Quar command ships with precision strikes. Meanwhile, special infiltration drones attached to the disabled vessels, hacking into their systems and spreading misinformation. Quar communication channels compromised, reported Communications Officer Lee Junho.
Feeding false retreat orders to their secondary ships. Na-young watched as confusion spread through the Quar fleet.
Some ships fired on their own allies, believing them to be disguised human vessels. Others began emergency jumps to escape what they thought was a much larger ambush. Within 2 hours, the mighty Quar Third Fleet, 50 ships strong, had been defeated by just 3 human vessels. Not through direct combat, but through deception, environmental manipulation, and targeted strikes at command and control systems. The news spread quickly through Council space. Grand Marshal Valine arrived on the Valiant shortly after the battle, his 4 arms held stiffly at his sides as he watched the battle recordings. This is not warfare as we understand it, Valine said, his tone a mixture of awe and disturbance.
No, agreed Na Young. It's warfare that works. In the days that followed, footage of the battle spread across the galaxy. Species who had lived in fear of the Quar watched in amazement as humans demonstrated tactics never before seen in galactic warfare. There was no honor, no formal engagement, no announced attacks, just ruthless efficiency. Dr. Kong Taemin joined Na Young as she prepared plans for the next engagement. The Council species are deeply conflicted about our methods, he told her. They fear us almost as much as they fear the Quar now. Fear can be useful, Na Young replied. The Quar relied on it for years. Now they're learning what it feels like. The human task force continued to develop new strategies. They deployed guerrilla tactics against Quar supply lines. They used misinformation campaigns to turn Quar commanders against each other. They studied and exploited the psychological weaknesses of an enemy that had never faced an adversary who refused to follow the rules. As Na Young reviewed plans for their next operation, she received a message from Admiral Lee Sunwoo. The Council is requesting expanded human involvement in the war effort. They don't like our methods, but they can't deny our results. Na Young smiled. The galaxy was changing, and humanity was leading the change one unconventional victory at a time. The council chamber fell silent as the recording ended. On the large display at the center of the room, they had just watched human forces deploy a biological agent that disabled the communication organs of an entire Quar battle group without killing a single soldier. The Quar ships, unable to coordinate, had surrendered without firing a shot. This goes too far, said Counselor Irium, his translucent tentacles rippling with emotion. First unconventional tactics, now biological warfare? Dr. Kong Taemin stood calmly before the council representatives. The agent causes temporary paralysis of their communication glands. It wears off in 3 days with no permanent effects. That is not the point, Irium continued. Each time we grant humans more freedom in this war, they cross another ethical boundary. Where will it end? The debate had been growing for weeks. As human tactics turned the tide of war against the Quar, ethical concerns spread across council species. Humans did not fight like any civilization they had encountered before. They exploited weaknesses, attacked from shadows, and refused to meet enemies in honorable combat. Admiral Lee Sunwoo stepped forward. The Quar have destroyed 17 council worlds. They showed no mercy, no honor. Yet you question our methods when we stop them without bloodshed? We question whether the means justify the ends, replied Grand Marshal Valine. Victory at the cost of our principles may be no victory at all. The meeting ended without resolution. As Taemin left the chamber, he was joined by Commander Choi Na-young, recently promoted after her successful Jupiter operation. They don't understand, Na-young said as they walked through the gleaming corridors of the council station. We're saving lives by avoiding direct combat. Taemin nodded thoughtfully. The council species have fought wars the same way for thousands of years. We're challenging their entire worldview. While they debate ethics, the Quar prepare their next attack, Na-young replied. We need something decisive to end this war. In his private laboratory, Taemin had been studying the Quar intensely. Unlike most council species who evolved from herbivores or omnivores, the Quar were apex predators. Their society revolved around strength and dominance. But most importantly, they had a complex religious belief system. They believe their gods monitor every battle, Taemin explained to Admiral Lee later that day. Victory proves divine favor, defeat means abandonment. How does this help us? Lee asked. I've developed a radical plan. We can make the Quar believe their gods have abandoned them. The plan was audacious. Using advanced holographic technology, quantum field manipulators, and careful study of Quar religious texts, Taemin proposed creating an illusion visible to the entire Quar fleet, the image of their gods departing the galaxy. When presented to the council, the plan met immediate resistance. Psychological warfare on a species-wide scale, said Counselor Irium, his voice heavy with concern. This crosses boundaries we have respected for millennia. Your boundaries have cost billions of lives, Taemin replied calmly. The Quar understand only one language: absolute defeat. This gives it to them without further bloodshed. After heated debate, the council reluctantly approved the plan. 3 days later, as the largest Quar fleet ever assembled prepared to attack the council homeworlds, Taemin's team activated their creation. The stars seemed to shift across the galaxy. To Quar sensors, it appeared as if their deities, represented in their religion as cosmic entities, were pulling away from the galactic plane, abandoning their followers. The illusion was a masterpiece of science and psychology, targeting specific wavelengths that only Quar sensory organs could fully perceive. The effect was immediate. The Quar Supreme Commander's transmission played throughout the council chambers: "These humans do not fight. They haunt. They poison. They deceive. Are we at war with soldiers or demons?" Within hours, the Quar fleet stood down. Within a day, they requested terms of surrender. A war that had been projected to last centuries ended with an illusion. In the aftermath, as the council celebrated victory, Taemin sat alone in his quarters. Na Young found him there, staring at the stars. "You should be celebrating," she said. "You just saved countless lives." "I'm manipulating the deepest beliefs of an entire species," Taemin replied quietly. "Was it right? Does the outcome justify what we did?" Na Young had no easy answer. "We did what was necessary. The council would have fought this war for generations, following their honorable rules while worlds burned. And now they fear us," Taemin said. "I've seen it in their eyes. They're grateful, but terrified of what humans might do next." As the night passed, reports arrived from across council space. The Quar were withdrawing to their home systems. The war was truly over. But for humans, a new challenge was just beginning, facing judgment from a grateful but deeply disturbed galactic community. "Tomorrow," Na Young said, looking out at the stars, "the council decides our fate." The Great Hall of Judgment had never held so many species. Thousands of representatives from over 300 civilizations filled the massive chamber, their diverse forms a testament to the vastness of the Galactic Council's reach. At the center stood Commander Park Ji-ho, Admiral Lee Sun-woo, Commander Choi Na-young, and Dr. Kong Tae-min, the humans who had changed the course of the war forever. Ji-ho looked across the sea of alien faces. Some showed gratitude, others fear, many a complex mixture of both. The Council's victory over the Quar had come at an unexpected price, the introduction of warfare concepts that shook the foundation of galactic society. High Emissary Toril stood from the central platform, his voice amplified throughout the chamber. "We gather today to address what many are calling the human question. Our victory against the Quar would not have been possible without Earth's intervention. Yet the methods employed have caused deep concern among Council species." Murmurs spread through the chamber. A representative of the Lyre, whose homeworld had been saved from Quar invasion, rose to speak. "My people owe our continued existence to human ingenuity. Their unconventional tactics preserved our civilization when traditional warfare had failed us." Others were less supportive. "These humans do not understand boundaries," declared a representative of the ancient Mevan species. "They manipulated religious beliefs, deployed biological agents, and rejected all established protocols of civilized conflict. What will stop them from using such methods against Council worlds in the future?" Ji-ho listened calmly to each speaker. When his turn came to address the Council, he stepped forward with quiet confidence. "When we joined your community 3 years ago, we brought with us a different history. While your species developed ritualized warfare with clear rules, humans learned through painful experience that war itself is the enemy. Our goal was never to win battles, but to end the war as quickly as possible with minimal loss of life." Sun-woo stepped forward next. "You invited us to fight when your methods failed. Now you fear us for succeeding. We understand your concern, but remember, we used these tactics against an enemy that threatened all life in the galaxy, and we did so with restraint." The debate continued for hours. Some Council species advocated for restricting human expansion, others for sharing and learning from Earth's tactical innovations. The division seemed impossible to bridge until Councillor Irium proposed an unexpected solution.
Humanity saved us, Irium acknowledged, his tentacles moving slowly with the gravity of his words. Yet in doing so, you have introduced concepts that threaten the very foundation of galactic society.
We propose a resolution that honors both your contribution and our concerns.
The vote, when it came, was unanimous, something almost unheard of in council proceedings. Irium read the proclamation with ceremonial solemnity. For their service to the council and for the preservation of all sentient life, humanity is hereby granted protected status among the stars.
And for the same reasons, humanity is forever banned from participation in any future galactic conflicts.
The chamber fell silent as the humans absorbed these words.
To clarify, continued Irium, Earth and all human colonies will receive the Council's full protection. Humans may serve in advisory roles and in rescue operations.
But never again will human military forces be permitted to engage in warfare beyond your solar system.
As they exited the hall, Jiho smiled slightly.
They just made us the most feared species in the galaxy, without us ever needing to fire another shot.
Na Young nodded.
Peace through the threat of our involvement. Perhaps the most effective military strategy of all.
In the years that followed, the human ban transformed galactic politics.
Species that had warred for millennia suddenly found diplomatic solutions when reminded that continued conflict might justify human intervention. The Council established a special division of human advisors who helped resolve disputes without direct military involvement. Dr. Kong Taemin eventually became the head of the new Galactic Peace Institute, where he taught psychological approaches to conflict resolution. Admiral Lee Sunwoo returned to Earth, where he trained new generations of officers in the responsibilities that came with humanity's unique position. 5 years after the judgment, Jiho stood on the observation deck of the newly built Earth Embassy on the Council capital world. Beside him, High Emissary Toril watched ships arrive for the anniversary celebrations of the Kvar War's end. "You know," said Toril, "some say the Council's judgment was not a punishment but the highest honor we could bestow."
Jiho looked at the peaceful gathering of ships from across the galaxy.
"How so?" "We made you too valuable to waste on war," Toril replied.
"The mere possibility of human involvement prevents conflicts before they begin.
You achieved what no species has managed in Council history, you made peace more frightening than war." Jiho watched the stars, thinking of Earth's violent history and its unexpected future as the galaxy's most effective peacekeepers, too dangerous to ever be allowed to fight again.